Hi, I'm Gareth Pronovost, and this is Entrepreneurship by the Numbers, where I help you unlock the full potential of your business using data-driven metrics. Now, this video will be discussing an analysis called break-even analysis. And this is something that comes to us from finance. We can calculate the amount of units and or the amount of dollars that we need to sell in our business just to cover our costs. It's a pretty straightforward and simple calculation, but to make it even easier, I've built a template. So the first thing that we need to do in jumping into here is understanding the difference between fixed and variable costs. Okay, all of our costs can be put in one of these two buckets, right? Fixed costs are those costs that they're going to remain relatively consistent month over month, irrespective of how many units we're selling. So things like rent or salaries, those aren't going to change if we sell more or less. So these are fixed costs. They run constant month over month. The other part of our costs are labeled as variable costs. Variable costs are those costs that change as our sales numbers change. So as we sell more, our costs go up. So if you are producing a product, it is almost a certainty that your materials cost will be a variable cost. That is, the materials that you use to build your product will go up, or the cost that you spend there will go up as you sell more. Commissions are another variable cost. As your sales team sells more, their commissions go up, so you're responsible for paying them more. So the first step you'll need to do is really wrap your head around fixed versus variable costs, because that's going to be an important part of this calculation that we're going to jump into. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that. Okay, so when we go ahead and open this template, where you see that we've got a couple of different tabs here at the bottom. The first tab is showing our break-even analysis. So this is where the graph is going to populate and where we're going to actually get the output of our efforts. But as I mentioned earlier, the first thing we need to do is go into our costs and really get our minds wrapped around those. So I've put some example costs in here. You might have more costs, and if you do, feel free to add them down below, and you'll see that the table just continues to be created. But I'm only going to be focusing on these first four costs. Now, the first step is determining what type of cost that is, and I've given you a drop down here. You can pick variable or fixed. So rent is almost always a fixed cost because we're going to pay that regardless. Customer acquisition cost, this is a cost that comes from marketing, and this is for the modern marketer who can say specifically how much it costs to get a new customer. So it might cost you, you might say you're running a campaign that for $1,000, and you know from that $1,000 you're going to get 10 different actual customers from it. If you have your marketing so tuned in, then you can label this a variable cost, because you could simply say that you know how much it costs you to get one new customer. If you don't, and if you just say, hey, we spend this much on marketing every month, then you would label your marketing as a fixed cost. Your commissions, as I mentioned, are always going to be variable costs because they're tied to the sale of units, and your salary are always going to be fixed costs because salaries don't go up or down depending on units sold. So I'm not going to worry about cost 5 here, but if you want to add more, feel free to. And so you'll notice here that this fourth column has a formula in it, and it's automatically populating to let you know what kind of cost you're going to enter here. Are you going to enter a total cost, or are you going to enter a cost per unit? And that depends on whether this is a fixed or a variable cost. In the terms of rent, let's say you have $2,500 a month you spend in rent. That's a total cost. That's not going to change depending on units. But here we have the variable cost of customer acquisition. Let's say it costs you $25, for example, to get a customer. That is $25 per customer. So you can increase or decrease the flow of marketing dollars depending. Similarly, your commission, as your sales go up or down, it doesn't matter. You're paying $50 in this example per unit, so that's a variable cost. And that, again, salary, let's say you're spending $8,000 a month in salary. Okay, so once we have our cost calculations all filled out, we can switch back over to the break-even analysis tab. Now, right now, all we have is a flat line, because this is the total fixed costs that are being added up on our cost table. We have this 2,500 and this 8,000. So those two are getting added up automatically and pulled in over here. And then per unit, we have this variable cost of $75. Okay, so the last few steps here are determining what our sales price is, and that's probably something you already know. For this example, it's going to be 500, and we need to pick a units on the break-even analysis graph. I'm going to start with the wrong number of 15 units. I'm going to show you how we're going to get to the right one. So once we have all of that information plugged in, the rest of Excel does the magic for us. This is the calculation right here that is telling us how many units we need to sell. We need to sell 25 units. Actually, if we were to come over here, we see it's 24.7, but we're rounding to the nearest whole number. So 25 units need to be sold in order just to cover our costs. And the amount of dollars that we need to sell, the sales dollars, is calculated at 12,300. And really what's happening is we're saying, hey, we know we have a fixed cost of $10,500 every month. That's the total fixed. But after every unit we sell, we're going to incur new costs. So at what point do our total costs equal our total sales? And that's what we're calculating here. Now you see how this graph is a little wonky. We've got a small area over here and then a big area over here. You can change the units of the axis down here by just coming in here and changing different numbers. If you decrease this, for this example, to 5, now we've got a better looking graph and we can see better what's going on either side of it. So this point here, this red line, is our total cost. As our total costs are greater than our sales, all the way up until our break-even unit amount, which here is 25. And then after that, sales are greater than cost. And all of this area right here between these two lines, this is our profit. Great. Well, I hope you found that to be very useful. If you would like access to this template, I do have it available for free download on my website. Go ahead and swing on by. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on future videos, do click subscribe below so that we can stay connected. And in the meantime, best of luck to you as you continue to grow your business. Thanks.